In this next part of our Django tutorials, we're going to talk about REST API in Django. So we're going to pause this part of our project too. It was about the signing up and logging in and resetting the password. So we're going to keep this, and also the last one, which was related to adding classmates to our database. And now we're going to go after creating REST API. So let me create a new file, or open up a new window, or you can use the terminal from here. But I need to use cd dot and that's it. So let me create a new folder called, I can call this REST API Django, or it's better to name it Django REST API to find it easier. And so the file exists with this name because I had created another project. So Django REST, and that's it. So let us cd to this file, to this folder, Django REST. And now let us create a virtual environment. So here I can say python 3-m then, and I can call this REST. So let us head over to that part by just running the code space dot, and it will open up a new window inside of the Visual Studio, and here we'll be able to see everything. So now let me open up a new terminal another time, and here we are in the Django REST. So in here we're going to activate our virtual environment. So we will change the directory to bin folder, and so to REST folder first and then to bin folder. And now we're going to run source.activate. And now it's been activated, and now we're going to install Django. So pip install Django, and now it's already it's been installed successfully. We also need to install Django REST framework, so let us pip install Django REST framework. So now it's been successfully installed. I've cleared the terminal in order to be much more clear. So now let us create our Django project. So first let us check the version of Django. Django admin -- version. It's 4.1.4, and now let us run Django. Start project, and let's name it REST, or a REST API. So it's better be Django admin, and okay, it's not a valid name because it's better to be underline, not dash. There we go. So the project has been created. Let's cd to the projects folder, cd rest underline API. There we go. And now in the following, we're going to create an app called, this one's name was REST API. So we're going to create a to-do list. and I'm going to explain what a to-do list is inside of the REST framework. So Django admin start app to-do API, and there we go. So we have two projects inside of this folder, REST API and to-do API. The second one is the app, the first one is the project folder. So we're generally going to work with these files in this project. But first of all, let us talk about a to-do list and what is the REST architecture, how does it work, and why do we use it. So first of all, let us explain why do we use REST framework and what is the purpose of using REST framework in Django. So imagine that you're in a very big team and there are some backend developers and some front-end developers. And the front-end developers need to work with React, Vue.js, or some front-end frameworks that should be integrated with Django. So how do we integrate them? We use the REST API. So the REST API provides some data or some functions by just giving access to a certain URL, and then these data or functions can be returned just in the format of JSON or HTML or XML and etc. So we're generally creating some dictionaries or some data instead of JSON that contains some data inside of it. So a to-do list is a list of items that we put inside of our data. So it is generally called a to-do list, and it contains several data that we put inside of it. So the first thing we do inside of our to-do list is to create our models. But before that, let us enter the name of our project, which is to-do API instead of the installed apps. So this is the important part for every project. So the name was to-do API, and let's save this. Also, let us migrate our project. So let me run clear, and now Python manage.py, and in order to migrate, we should run migrate. So migration is done, and now we're ready to start our project. So now let me clear, and there we go. So the first thing I'm going to do before starting with our models is to manage our urls.py. So our urls.py is inside of this project folder, but there's something important to notice, and that is in every project that we have an app, in nearly all of our projects we create a urls.py inside of our app folder as well. So we need to create another one in here, but first of all, let us complete this one in order to include the URLs inside of our to-do app. So here I'm going to add another path, and here this one is going to include. And by the way, let us call it API off, which is related to authentication in a REST framework. And here we're going to include the REST framework.urls, which is a built-in one inside of our Django project. .urls, and by the way, this should be inside of the apostrophe. And also in the URLs, we don't have, it's better not to write underlines, so we use dash here. And there we go. We also need to add another path, which is for our API. So here I'm going to add to-dos for our to-do list, and then here also let me backslash here, and there we go. So here we're going to include, this is a to-do API, so from to-do API import URLs. And by the way, we don't have URLs, but we're going to create that, and it's better to call it as to-do URLs, to-do URLs. So now here we're going to include to-do URLs, and we have comma at the end of each line. And by the way, this is not inside of the apostrophe, so to-do URLs. There we go. So the next part in the next video, we're going to talk about the models and complete other files, also create another urls.py. So until now, we've learned how to create a project and what is the RESTful API, and in the next part, we're going to complete our project to create a complete RESTful API for our models.